Hello again, everybody. Andy Kendi of KETV, joined by our big Red Zone insider, Sean Callahan, a Husker Online. A huge week ahead. But before we dive into Penn State, so much to catch up on. You get these bye weeks, and it seems like about a month since we've had a game. First of all, Sean, what did you do on your bye week?
Yeah, for me on the bye week, Andy, obviously it was just a lot of relaxing. I watched some football. We did have some basketball games. My daughter and I help coach. So third grade girls basketball on Saturday, and went out to dinner, had a steak in Omaha on Saturday night.
Living large.
With some friends, yeah, and just kind of came together at the last minute. I was going to stay in town, and then something came up. We're like, let's go to Omaha, dinner with them, and so
that's cool.
I was able to get away for a little bit at least.
Awesome. Hey, did you guys win your game on Saturday? Basketball.
We lost our first game, and it was we played poor, and the team we played really well, so kind of a bad combo. And the game we played next, I thought was going to be a lot harder. It was Danny Busboom's hometown of Freeman, and we ended up playing really well and won that game. So we split the day. It was a good day for the girl. I mean, third grade girls, there's a lot of peaks and valleys, but it was a lot of fun.
I don't even want to. Well, I will tell you what I did real quick before we get into football. I drove my senior in college and my sophomore in high school up to Minneapolis, a day trip. Saturday to Sunday.
Minneapolis.
Yeah. Saturday night, I dropped them off at some band I'd never heard of up to this point. Now I know all about them. It's called Cat's Eye. Perhaps you've heard of them. I don't know. It's a big girl group. I don't know. It's like a Backstreet Boys of girl power, whatever. So they kicked off their North American tour in Minneapolis at the Armory. So we stayed at the Marriott City Center, which you've stayed at before. Beautiful hotel, and it's right in the middle of. You can't beat the location. And the Bears were playing the Vikings the next day, so about 80% of them were wearing Bears jerseys and Bears. So I survived that. I did not go to the show. Can't give you a review, but the girls said it was 2 thumbs up.
How was the lobby?
The lobby bar was good. And, you're going to pay for those lobby bar beers, if you know what I mean.
You didn't venture over to the Lions pub?
No, we do. You know what? We were going to, and we actually went over to some Tom's Viewing Bar or Tom's Sports Bar, which is right around the corner from Lions Pub. And it was like wall to wall. There was a Timberwolves game that night. There was something else going on. Oh, the Prince tribute show was just starting. I mean, there was a million people downtown. It was fun, though. It was fun.
The Lions Pub, for our viewers that don't know, that's the official Nebraska bar, Minneapolis. And when Nebraska's there every other year, whatever it comes out to be, it's completely taken over.
Yeah, speaking of taking over, let's talk about the Rose Bowl, Sean. I mean, that was a complete takeover by Husker fans. And you've been doing it longer than I have. This is my 16th season, but it still makes my mind when I see all these Husker fans make the trip. And now some of them live out there. Some of them live in Arizona or Nevada or whatever. But man, I mean, there had to be 25,000 people in the Rose Bowl on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And Andy, when this schedule came out, you knew, I said this at the start of the year, this will be one of the best fan travel years we had seen. You had Kansas City, you had Maryland, which we know the 2019 Maryland game was a night game. It was rainy. So you kind of didn't get as good of a gauge, but there was a lot of red there, and it ended up being more red this time around in Maryland. Then Minnesota's always been a good trip for Husker fans. But then you had this game in the Rose Bowl, and Nebraska had not played a game in the Rose Bowl since 2001 season. And there's just something about LA. I think there's a lot of ways to get there, whether it's Burbank, LAX, Orange County, whether it's by car from Phoenix or Las Vegas or Northern California or Central California. There are a lot of ways and a lot of Husker fans that all went there. And I feel like this will be kind of what happens. I mean, we saw this originally when Nebraska joined the Big Ten. The Northwestern game was like this. I feel like the LA trip has become the Northwestern game because Husker fans have not been able to go to a game in Evanston since 2018.
Yeah, that's just awful, and hopefully that gets corrected soon. I think in the next couple of years, I think they go back. But yeah, it is pretty amazing. When they went there the last time, though, Sean, that was like 2013, 2014 when Amir Abdullah. That was kind of the UCLA.
Yeah, I forgot about the Rose Bowl game was 01. You're right. The 2013 game would have been.
But even that one,
2012.
Yeah, 2012. So that was a highly populated Husker fan game. But, man, it just seemed like more of a presence, maybe because it was the night game and maybe because we were looking at the Husker bench as well as the stands behind him, which was all red. It seemed like they really made an impact. And what a nice little soft cushion landing for TJ Latif's first start. Not only do you get these Husker home field advantage fans, but you also get the literal hometown advantage because he grew up there. He really played about as well as you could have hoped.
I mean, he could have went home for dinner on Friday night for all we know. I mean, he's so close to his house in nearby Compton. But yeah, you couldn't have drawn up a better script with the crowd, with the start, with the way Dana Holgorsen kind of put a game plan in place, and the way Emmett Johnson ran consistently. I think the 28 carries that Emmett Johnson gave Nebraska really helped make TJ's day really a stress-free day, to the point where he had to make some throws, but they were really high percentage. He did not have any what was graded as a turnover-worthy play. I think when you look at TJ Latif's day itself, I mean, I think, you know, he did a lot of good things, Andy, across the board. I'm trying to get the grades pulled up here. I didn't know if we were going to go grades.
Let's go grades if you got them.
We're talking about TJ Latif from UCLA, but you go into the day itself. Yeah, he only had 17 pass plays, 15 were actually attempts, 7 true run plays. He scored an 85.0 overall, which was the best grade for a Nebraska quarterback this year in a Power 4 game. So there is a little bit of context in that number. It was a very good number. He did not attempt a throw of 20-plus yards down the field, but he was a perfect 4 for 4 on his throws of 10 to 19 yards down the field for 83 yards. He was only under pressure on 4 of his 17 dropbacks. UCLA blitzed him 6 times. So the protection was good. He got the ball out in 2.76 seconds. There were so many things to like, and there were no turnover-worthy plays, as I mentioned earlier. 13 for 15 for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns. It doesn't really get better than that. And then 9 actual run plays in the game. 7 were design runs and 2 were scrambles. So they did a great job, I think, of just, you know, managing how and when they ran TJ Latif in this ball game.
Yeah, and I thought it was probably pretty telling that the first play from scrimmage, he chose to pull the ball in and run it himself on the option, the run pass option deal, where he got to keep the ball and really took a lick. But I thought that set the tone, like, hey, this isn't like the old offense. We're going to run the ball. And I thought that was really helpful. And when you go out and complete your first 11 passes, he didn't have an incompletion until the fourth quarter. That was pretty telling. And when you got a running back like Emmett Johnson, look at those grades. That was pretty darn impressive. One of the great performances by a Nebraska running back in terms of all-around game. He was the first guy to go over 100 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards in the same game as a running back at Nebraska. Which
is hard to believe. But, you know, the great 80s and 90s Nebraska teams just didn't have to throw to the backs a lot. I mean, there had been some outliers, like Marlon Lucky had a year where he had over 70 catches. That would have been a year like, hey, maybe that was possible. Brandon Jackson maybe could have done it. You know, the San Francisco 49er running back, Sayers, not
Roger Craig.
I'm sorry. Yep. Roger Craig could have been one that I think you dug up, but the Osborne teams didn't have to throw to the back.
Right.
So
right.
This was such a unique game, and it was a low snap game. So for Emmett Johnson to be involved in, you know, that many touches in this game tells you his value to the team right now.
Yeah, and he scored on a couple of those pass plays, which were really long gainers, which were beautifully designed plays and executed as well. And, you know, even the screen pass, I thought Emmett had to go up and get a little bit, and he was able to collect himself and got some really nice blocks down the field from Isaiah Hunter as well as Justin Evans and Rocco Spindler. But it's pretty amazing to see where Emmett Johnson, he comes home and all of a sudden there's a Heisman campaign in full force. I mean, it has been a week and a half of just saying, hey, let's build up Emmett Johnson, right? If you didn't know about Emmett Johnson, hopefully you do now.
Yeah, you were at the basketball game, Andy, last week. And I mean, that was, I don't know if you were expecting the full frontal Heisman campaign to debut in Pinnacle Bank Arena with T-shirts and poses.
Yeah, with cheerleaders. It was like a full-blown photo op during a timeout. And honestly, the way they played against what was Maryland Eastern Shore, that was the loudest cheer of the night, let's be honest. And he got a standing ovation. People stood up and cheered for Emmett Johnson. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, those November early basketball games are kind of like going to the dentist. I mean, they're just kind of very I'm here because I kind of have to be.
Yep. Here's my copay. Let's get it over with. But, you know, I'll tell you, it was a really great experience. with the girls. My girls hadn't been to a basketball. My older one had, but my youngest had never been. And the beauty of it, you're in and out in 2 hours. You get entertained. It's a pretty awesome deal.
Oh yeah, cool. PBA. It's hard to believe they played in that arena now for well over 10 years.
Yeah,
time has flown by.
Yeah, and it really has held up nicely, and I think it really is a home court advantage. Hey, you know what? Before we get into Penn State, I want to get to kind of the news of the week that broke on Wednesday morning. 2 weeks before signing day, Dayton Raiola decommits from Nebraska. For people who've been living under a rock, he's the younger brother of Dylan Raiola, and this is a big deal, right, Sean?
Yeah, you look at the news of Dayton Raiola, and our own Rivals.com, Chad Simmons, broke the news this morning. And I'll tell you this, Andy, we were working on a story for this morning to get confirmation on all the recruits that were going to be part of bowl practices for Nebraska, because these guys can graduate and get there early. We never heard back from Dayton, and then we heard indirectly through Dominic that, Dayton will be at bowl practices. That was a day ago. So everything we had gotten at that point was like, hey, all right, Dayton still, there's nothing that would lead you to believe this was coming, other than he didn't respond back to us, which he'd always been very good at getting back to us. Matt Rhule was at Dayton's game Friday, but very little buzz came out of that. There wasn't really anything that like, hey, Rhule was here to pay homage to his quarterback recruit. And then here we go on Wednesday. It's over, and we're 2 weeks away from National Signing Day. And I think this is something with Dayton wanting to kind of carve his own path, do his own thing. But it's still very late in the process. I'll be very interested to see. There's going to be a lot of coaching changes and transfer portal stuff, so he'll get an opportunity. He never really put himself out there as a recruit, though, because he committed to Nebraska so early. So not a lot of teams really were evaluating him throughout the year because he had been a Husker for such a long time.
So what do you think? Is this is a Dayton decision though, right? I mean, this is all coming from Dayton. It's not.
That's our understanding that it's coming from Dayton. Trey Taylor is the 2027 recruit. TJ Lateef is the 2025 recruit. So and then your brother is the 2024 recruit.
Right.
So you're sandwiched between 5-star, 4-star, high 4-star. And, he's the lowest ranked of those guys, probably be the lowest paid in the NIL world, at least how things structure out. So, if you're just being really realistic about it, his path to winning the job it's not going to be easy anywhere. But here, there's a lot of people that, like Trey Taylor's already getting paid by the NIL collective. Mm-hmm. I don't believe Dayton was. So, like you kind of have to just read the tea leaves a little bit. And I think he understands if he wants to play, there might be better opportunities out there than the current quarterback situation at Nebraska.
All right. As we're taping this, recording this on Wednesday afternoon, is there any indications that this is move one in a series of multiple moves coming that we should be, bracing for? So
everything that we've heard from those tied to the Raiola family is this is not like A leads to B. But you and I have been around the block long enough to know things are very fluid. Things can change very quickly. So, I think we're all watching it closely, Andy. And I would be a fool if I wasn't. I wouldn't be doing my job. So, as of today, no, this is not an A leads to B. But I am not ruling that out here down the road, especially if Lateef ends up playing really well. I think that changes a lot of the dialogue because Dylan Raiola is the starter, but what if Lateef beats Iowa? What if Lateef beats Penn State? What if he wins the bowl game? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs that need to play out here, but it went 0 to 60 very quickly.
Yeah, it's amazing how this stuff turns. Like 2 weeks ago, it was a totally different scenario. Now I got to ask you too, because this is what a lot of Husker fans, or at least football fans around the Metro, this has nothing to do with Jet Tamala committing verbally to Alabama. This has nothing to do with that.
No, right? And actually have been talking with Jet's father just coincidentally this week about the high school football championships and some of the prep work I'm doing. And Jet's going to be at Alabama on January 5th.
Okay.
So
he's enrolling early.
Oh, yeah. There's this is not A leads to B leads to C either.
Right. Right.
And that's not the what I know about the Tamalas, that's not how they roll. I mean, there's zero relationship with them in Nebraska. I think we need to be clear about that. They have no Glenn Thomas, Dana Holgerson, or even Matt Rule relationship where Kalen DeBoer and Grubb, the OC at Alabama, those guys have been on Jet hard. They went down and watched him play. I mean, that Alabama staff loves Jet Tamala. I mean, they feel like they hit the lottery to get him, and can't believe they got him. I think they realize how good he could end up being. He's now a national top 100 quarterback.
No, he's terrific. Anybody who's watched a single quarter of him play, he is one of the all-timers in terms of not just quarterbacks, but football players that come out of the state of Nebraska. And for people who don't know, that Sean will be doing the sidelines for the Nebraska Public Media, the broadcast for the high school games coming up next week on Monday and Tuesday. It should be a fun deal with the high school. So just closing the book on this recruiting talk. So are you expecting Nebraska to go last minute to find a quarterback for the class of 26, or are they just going to say, hey, we're good with what you got. If we got a supplement, we'll go through the portal?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a situation where I don't know if what would be available for high school. I don't think it
at
makes
this point,
sense.
2 weeks left, right? Yeah.
And how do you get somebody on campus? The Iowa game is your only opportunity for a visitor, and that's an 11 a.m. game. And then signing day is the Wednesday after Iowa. So I just don't know if it's possible. Now, you could wait and sign in February. There's other things that could happen. But I think it's probably more realistic, if anything, that they might add another portal guy that, is another position, another depth player that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was headed, but just wanted to make sure. All right, let's turn our attention to Penn State. What a interesting deal this game is. Penn State, what a story. They go out, win their first 3, they lose their next 6. In the meantime, they fire James Franklin. Franklin gets just hired by Virginia Tech. What a season it's been. And now but most of their losses were from very close losses. I think of the 6 losses, 5 of them by combined 16 points. So they've been in almost every game, the exception being Ohio State, and who's really in it with them lately. But this is a really interesting matchup because on paper you'd think, hey, 7-3 versus 4-6. 7-3 is going to be the favorite. Not so fast. Vegas says Penn State is close to a double-digit favorite.
Yeah, it just puts in perspective the talent they have. And look, they are a millimeter away from owning the best win in college football. They were that close to beating Indiana. And I know you can play that game a lot, but they played really well against the Hoosiers. And it looked like they were going to pull the upset off. They easily should have and could have beaten Oregon. Iowa could have beat them. So it's a hard team to gauge because of just how their losses have played out. And, Northwestern kind of just got them at the right time and play. Northwestern does that. They play people really tough. And then the UCLA game, the traveling and coming off Oregon, it just was one of those bad days for them. So they are a very misleading team with their record. Kind of reminds me a little bit of what Nebraska was in 2021 at 3-9. Like that was a 3-9 team that was a play away from beating the Big Ten champions. And they were a player or 2 away from beating Ohio State that year. So they are like that. I think the talent is much better than the record, as we know. And that's why the point spread for this game, Andy, is higher than any game Nebraska's played all year.
Isn't that crazy? It's just crazy. And the numbers, this is a full year deal. It's almost, it's not, I don't want to say misleading, but these numbers do not reflect of what we've seen the last couple weeks when Penn State has really leaned into their run game. I mean, you're looking at their total offense. Yeah, it's fine. Rushing offense. Yeah, they're okay. But, obviously they're not going to pass a lot with Drew Aller being hurt. But yeah, it seems like these numbers are a little misleading. Defensively, they're solid, and they're going to give Nebraska a test.
Yeah, this is a team that's that could go 6-6 if they went out, but they probably should be 9-3, 10-2. But Nebraska, you can make the same argument. Like the game against Michigan, they easily could have figured out a way to win. They could have easily won the game against USC. Minnesota hammered them, but Nebraska is a 7-3 team that could be 9-1.
Sure.
And so I think both teams' records are somewhat misleading because when they played well, they've played at a high level. And I think this Penn State team, if they run the ball like they did last week, this could be an extremely difficult day for the Huskers. They've got to figure out a way to bow up and stop the run.
Yeah, Katron Allen had 181 yards career high last week, and he coming in, him and Nick Singleton are the 2 backs that everybody talks about. And I would say coming into the game or into the year, don't you think Singleton was a little more highly regarded? But it seems like Allen has really taken this season by the horns, and he's moved into like an RB1 first option type of back.
Yeah, Singleton has not had the All-American year he was projected to have. It's been Katron Allen, but I think that's been part of the reason why this team has struggled. I mean, you look at the total carries, 270 total carries between the duo, where last year the same duo had 392. So that they're just not getting the productivity that they got a year ago in the yards per carry, the touchdowns, and some of the things that we had seen. Now, last week was the first time, though, we were like, okay, these guys might be back. And I think that's the scary thing if you're Nebraska. This is not a throwing team. Ethan Grunkmeyer is not a great thrower. They don't have great receiver play. So you know what this team is going to do. They're going to run the ball physically. They're going to try to throw the ball underneath the receivers. You will not see them stretch the field much with these guys.
Yeah, and if you're Nebraska, this is kind of your Achilles heel, your rushing defense. You come in ranked 14th in the Big Ten, 91st nationally. Try to stop them. Defensively, Penn State has a guy, this Danny Dennis Sutton. He's the guy that Matt Rule was talking about on Monday, like he was the second coming, right?
Yeah, 31 total tackles, 8.5 TFLs, 5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 PBUs, and 2 block punts.
That's amazing.
Not a bad.
That's a good stat line.
Stat line there. And
yeah,
you never know how all Big Ten things shake out because a lot of voters. I'm a voter this year, but they look at your record versus your stats. But he probably is an all Big Ten first teamer.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think for Nebraska, they have to try to mix in enough Emmett Johnson, but not be more one-dimensional and rely solely on him. TJ Lateef has got his work cut out for him, especially in this environment. It's going to be an interesting deal at Beaver Stadium because I have no idea what kind of fans to expect and what kind of reception these seniors. It's senior day at Beaver Stadium, and Allen and Singleton are guys that will be honored. It's going to be a big day for them and the team as a whole.
Yeah, and Andy, you have 2 college-age daughters. I mean, how many people their age are going to stick around an additional extra day and night for, in a lot of ways, a meaningless football game? Or will they just start their Thanksgiving break on Friday?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, too. And, you look at some of the ticket services. I mean, yesterday I was looking, and you could get in price. That's with fees under $10. It was like $8 or $7, and I've heard. Didn't you say it was even less than that at some other sites?
I've seen 5 and 6. You can get the best 50-yard line seat in the house behind Nebraska's bench for about $50.
That's amazing. The problem is getting there is a struggle.
Yeah,
just get there and you'll get tickets. Yeah,
it's easier to cross the Amazon jungle than it is to get to State College, Pennsylvania.
Easier to go to the North Pole.
And you got to take a zip line into State College.
It really is. And for people who don't understand, have never made the trip, there's multiple ways you can go. Obviously, going into State College is the easiest, but there's just so few options that the price tag is ridiculous. It's not even worth trying.
There's 2 single connection ways in from Omaha. You can go in through O'Hare, and they're smaller regional jets. So to put it in perspective, there's probably 200-ish flight seats on a Friday that go in on O'Hare. And then you've got some of Philadelphia American Airline planes that come in, and Omaha does offer a Philly flight. So you can go through Philly, you can go through Chicago to get there. There at one time used to be a Delta Detroit leg in there, and they cut that out of there. That's how we went there years ago.
I remember that. Yeah, that was the best trip to State College we had. It was the smallest airport I've ever been in, but now we're going to fly into Pittsburgh. And where are you flying into?
State College.
Oh, so you got in. So you are into State College.
We're on the O'Hare out of Lincoln. We got lucky, and then we rented a house. So we're staying in a house.
Who's grilling the burgers? Are you doing burgers or steaks, or what are we doing here?
Like all the houses around the stadium, a lot of them are basically rental Airbnbs.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Because they can 7 home football games.
Sure.
Pay their mortgage alone on those.
Yeah. My nephew went to Notre Dame. We stayed at one of those for a weekend, not on a football weekend, but you could tell it was built for that. And that's really an extra stream of income. Talking about looking at revenue streams, that's definitely a revenue stream for a lot of people out of State College. All right. So how do you see this game playing out there, Sean?
Yeah. Andy, I wish I'm picking Penn State probably to win close.
Okay.
Mainly just because I need to see Nebraska's run defense hold up. And this, to me, will be kind of like the Michigan game, but they're not going to be the home run backs that Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall were. But I think they're going to test the teeth of the defense. John Butler is going to have to come out with a different plan to stop the run. I don't know if you can just do the 3-3-5 all the way through and expect that to hold up. I think you will see Nebraska probably tinker their run looks and how they play the run. I don't think you need to be worried about the pass. Your secondary can lock up these receivers. So you got to have a run fit plan to stop the run. And that's still a big if. I'm intrigued about Latif, but Jim Knowles, the defensive coordinator at Penn State, was at Ohio State. He's going to bring a lot of 5 and 6 man pressures at Latif, or at least show 5 or 6, maybe drop into coverage. Latif's going to have to manage that too.
Yeah, they're going to, no question, Jim Knowles is going to try to confuse TJ Latif. I'm with you. I think that it starts obviously with starting the run. You almost dare Penn State to throw deep. And you're right. They haven't given up, or they have not produced many explosive plays offensively. Penn State hasn't. So I don't know. People say, oh, this is just like Michigan. They have 2 backs, but not really, because Michigan State had the ability to hit the 3-run homer. I don't know if Penn State has that ability from the run game itself.
Yeah, Nebraska, the only game all year they've given up the long run was Michigan. I mean, I think they've done a very good job of keeping the runs to more in the 4 to 8 yard range, and there's been very little explosive runs. And Grunkmeyer can run a little bit, but he's not a mobile quarterback.
Right.
So I don't think you need to worry about him as a runner like we had seen the UCLA game. And, we find out Imaliava played with a concussion of that.
Yeah, how about that, huh? When you see that, it's like, holy cow. He did take some shots, no question. But to hear that he had a concussion and yet finished the game, that's kind of that's a little unnerving.
Yeah, and my guess is you won't see him play the rest of the year. Who knows? But
yeah,
he didn't play last week, and who knows if he'll come back for the USC game.
Yeah. Well, too early to give a score, because I'm going to say I'm with you, and I think Nebraska covers. And maybe they get some lightning in a bottle and they get a special teams play, because that could turn the tide of this game. And if they do, I think Nebraska can win this game, especially if it's a kind of a ho-hum atmosphere under the lights in State College. I'm trying to convince myself that Nebraska can win this game. I think they can. I think the pass defense is good enough. Is the run defense good enough? That's where I'm kind of hesitant a little bit, aren't you?
I'm 26-20.
26-20 Penn State. All right. I'm going to what the hell? Nebraska's going to win this thing on a field goal. I'll say 24-23 at the gun. A little Pat Smith, take 2, part 2. And I think Kyle Kinane is going to create some magic there.
It's crazy that all these Big Ten games are kind of sword fights in the 20s.
Isn't it?
It's just a different league now.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's moving more and more. And you heard the coordinators talk about it. Hell, Dana Holgerson said this is a 7-possession game. If it's 7-possession game, you better score on at least 3 or 4.
Well, think about UCLA, Andy. They only had 3 possessions in the first half.
Well, they only had 1 in the first quarter. Remember that? I was just like, holy cow.
Nebraska scored 21 points on 3 possessions.
Amazing. So you got to make the most of your opportunities is what we're saying. All right. Post-game show, you're going to try to do it at the
Yeah, we'll be on late somewhere from State College.
I was going to say, are you going to do it from the house?
Well, we'll see. I got to do a Wi-Fi check. And do we know? I mean, I think we're in like a auxiliary box, right?
I know that they're renovating Beaver Stadium, and the press box was imploded over the winter last year. I don't know if it's ready yet. I can't believe it is. So we might be outdoors for all I know.
Yeah, we could be buying a $5 ticket.
Yeah, you better dress warmly. Bring that stocking cap. So Sean's show will be on about midnight-ish, 12:30, you think?
Yeah, the game will end at 10:30. I think we'll be on a little after midnight.
Okay, after midnight.
Late night in State College.
Late night, under the lights in State College. Join Sean and Sip and Robin as well for his post-game analysis. Of course, you'll get to hear Matt Rule with Sean and I. If you go on Husker Online or if you go to KETV.com, we'll have your post-game comments as well. So thanks for joining us on Big Red Zone Rundown. We'll have one more for you to get you set for Black Friday. But for now, he's Sean Callahan. I'm Andy Kennedy. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.